I was shocked to see, and at least 5 people sent me the article the minute it came out. I was shocked to see that the College Board got rid of the essay section on the SAT and got rid of the subject test, which used to be known as SAT-2s. Basic things that have changed in 2021 for the College Board SAT administrations. I think the most important thing that's changed with the College Board SAT administration is not giving subject tests, which also are known as SAT-2s anymore. They just will not give them, and they have been replaced with the AP exams, or the Advanced Placement exams. So now, instead of taking the SAT subject tests in order to get into college, you will take the AP placement exams for AP courses that you have taken. Another huge change with the College Board SAT is getting rid of the optional essay section. So not to be confused with the writing section. The writing section of the SAT and the essay section of the SAT are two different things. The essay section was optional, starting with the 2016 redesign of the SAT. Many students, certainly by 2019, 2020, most students were not opting to take it. Certainly the students that I advised, because most colleges did not require the essay section of the SAT. Another big change for 2021 is that the College Board has said that the SAT will release a digital form of the SAT so that students can take the SAT online. This is a huge change because the College Board in 2020, when the pandemic first derailed folks from taking standardized tests in person, had offered to create an online version of the test, but walked it back a few months later because I think they realized that they could not. They had done online version of the advanced placement or the AP tests in 2020. It did not go well. There were a lot of horror stories from that. As a result, the College Board, I think, decided that they could not do an online version of the test. But as the pandemic stretches on, we're now getting close to almost a year that most of us have not been going to work, been going to school, have been wearing masks, worried about social distancing. As those things have dragged on longer and longer, I think the College Board is recognizing that there needs to be a virtual form of the SAT in order for it to continue to be a market leader. A lot of folks are also asking me, is the SAT going to happen this year? Obviously, I don't know. There's no way to know. Biden's inauguration is today, January 20th. And because he has announced several plans to speed up vaccine distribution, and I think may put in place specific restrictions to slow the spread of COVID in some of the places where it's kind of more out of control, I think we'll see a really big change over the next 6 months in terms of the way that COVID is holding sway over the United States. Traditionally, the SAT offers testing administrations in March, May, June, the end of August, October, November, and December. Last year, they added a September administration. But last year, most of the SATs that I knew about were canceled in March, canceled in April if you were taking a school day, May, June. Many students were canceled in August. Many students were canceled in September. Many students were canceled even October, November, December. So a lot of people are saying, Alyssa, are the SATs even going to be offered this year? Again, no way that I can know that for sure. But I think that if we're able to decrease the spread of COVID in the United States and get 100 million people vaccinated in 100 days, then we'll be well on our way to getting to a point where it is safe to hold the SATs. I think part of the reason that they weren't held is because nobody was really sure how to make it safe. There was a New York Times reporter who went to take the SAT and wrote about that experience. And I remember she said one of the kids that she talked to said, normally when you go to take the SAT, you're super stressed out about trying to get a good grade on the test, and you're just worried that, you'll do well and you'll be in the right headspace. She's like, today we're worried about if we're going to get COVID and die from somebody in this room. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of pressure. So I understand why everybody's pretty nervous about being able to hold the SAT in a way that's safe and pandemic safe and COVID safe, etc. So I think that whether or not the SAT is able to offer its normal lineup, I'm guessing that we won't be really on track till May. But if you're doing a school day administration in your district in either March or April, it's possible, depending on the specific policies of your district, that will go okay. And it's also possible that by the time we hit March, we've got about 2 months. By the time we hit March, maybe we'll be okay. I was shocked to see, and at least 5 people sent me the article the minute it came out. I was shocked to see that the College Board got rid of the essay section on the SAT and got rid of the subject test, which used to be known as SAT 2s. It was not I wasn't super surprised that they got rid of the essay portion, and here's why. The essay portion has been optional since they redesigned the test in 2016, and many students have not taken it. When they first announced the essay portion, I think it was required for all 8 Ivies, but then between 2016 and 2020, it got to the point where none of the Ivies were requiring it, and obviously whatever the Ivies do sort of sets the tone for everybody else, so a lot of other schools followed suit. So it got to the point where almost nobody required the essay except, I think, Occidental and one other school. And so I would tell my kids, don't even bother working on the essay, because if I have a finite period of time to spend with you, I would rather spend it on 3 sections than 4, right? I'd rather take all of this time that we'd spend talking about the essay, which is optional and doesn't matter at most schools, and amortize it over math, reading, and writing, all of which are like important everywhere and always matter. So I've been telling kids not to take the essay for a long time, so that was fine. I don't think it's going to change anything at all, because most schools that were using the essay, we don't even know how they were calculating it, because it's an extra score that is not part of your score out of 1600 for the SAT. So nobody knew how it was working anyway. And my sense is it was just a thing that colleges were like, oh, good, this person can write an essay. This person didn't get a 2, But dropping the subject test is huge. As I applied to college in 1997. When I applied to college, we had to take subject tests, which were then called SAT 2s. As long as I have been in college access, which is since 2006, people have been taking subject tests. It's crazy. And the only thing that I can think of, so I did quite a bit of reading about this and conversation with other folks that I knew who are also in college access. And what I'm thinking is that they made a bet that all of the money that they normally get from the subject tests, they can now get from the AP tests, because they own the AP tests also. It seems like, and this may not be true, but this is a trend that I've seen, more people are taking AP tests now than they used to. The other good thing about AP tests for the College Board is that you can take them in freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. You'd have to take them by junior year for your scores to get sent. So basically what they're creating for themselves is another little prep environment, because if they stop offering the SAT subject tests altogether, then the only thing you can take is the AP test. So now the AP tests are going to become much more important. More schools are going to sign up to be able to pay for and deliver their curriculum, and more kids will sign up to take the AP test, especially kids in freshman and sophomore and junior year, because they don't yet know where they're going to college and they don't want to close off any of their options. So if the College Board is able to make up the money on the AP tests, and I'm guessing that they have done that calculation, then that's probably what they're thinking. I looked at a couple cross comparisons of the things that were offered for AP tests, like the subject material that was offered for AP tests and the tests that were offered in the subject tests, and they do seem to pretty much line up. So probably at this point, the College Board was just kind of maintaining both of them in the way that sometimes we do with vestigial organs, we don't really need them anymore, but we keep having a tailbone or whatever. The other thing that was really interesting that the College Board announced yesterday is that they're going to try to come up with an online version of the SAT. So they announced at the beginning of the pandemic that there was going to be an online version of the SAT, and then they walked that back about 3 months later, because I think they started making it and they were like, wow, we A, have no idea how to do this, and B, everything that we've done with the AP tests in 2020 was such a complete failure. There were horror stories of kids who took the AP tests who pressed submit, and then the page didn't, the thank you page didn't load, and the kids' material, all of the time that they put into that AP test was just lost. There was no way to get it back, and there was no record of any of the work that they had done. And I've just heard all kinds of inconsistencies with grading, etc., with the AP tests. I mean, who knows if they're true? These are just the stories that we hear as people who are working in college access, but it was a nightmare. And I think the College Board was like, wow, we did not do a great job with the AP tests, so I think we're probably not going to try to offer the SAT online because we have no idea how to do this. And the other thing to consider is I think they probably worked closely with at least some colleges to make sure that it was okay that they made this change. Because for the College Board to stop offering the subject tests, imagine that you're Harvard, right? And you require subject tests in order for students to be able to apply. If the College Board stops offering those subject tests, you have to know about it in advance. So my guess is that the College Board has worked with other colleges, like some group of colleges, whether it's NACAC or whether it's just unofficially, and said, hey, we're planning to do this. And so it isn't a surprise to them. This is obviously the best time to announce it because the kids who are going to apply in 2020 have already applied, and the kids who are going to apply in 2021 won't start until September. So like, if they're going to do it, this is the time to pull the plug. What I'm curious about is how exactly they're planning to administer the SAT online, because I know that the GRE is online. I think many of the standardized tests that folks use for grad school, business school, med school have online components. But the SAT is a really different animal. A couple things that I'm worried about if the SAT goes online is reading comprehension. It is documented that when you read something on a screen, you have something like 70% less comprehension than when you read it on a paper, which is why I, as you can see, prefer physical books to e-readers, because I want maximum comprehension. You may have heard the story of how Hillary Clinton wanted all of her emails printed out. That was because she knew that she would have better comprehension if she read them on paper than read them on a screen. And it was important to her to process what was being said to her. I really appreciated that. So I'm worried about our kids being able to read. I'm worried about our kids being able to mark things up, because I think sometimes with a long slate of text or like a large expanse of text, the only thing that you can do is kind of put markers in it for yourself. The mapping strategy that we teach at both the Ileana Leadership Academy and Socratic Summer Academy, it hinges on being able to write in the text. Also being able to pull answers out of the text. A lot of those things are easier when you can physically write, because we know that writing, if you're thinking about the retention ability, concretization mechanism, the least concrete is thinking, then speaking, then writing. So writing is the most concrete, thinking is the least concrete. If I give you a passage to read and then you have to go to the question and answer that question, the only thing that you have is your thought. Are they going to give you scratch paper? Like, I don't know. And think about the math section, right? If you're looking at the math section, how are you going to do that without scratch paper? And I think that that will prejudice the SAT towards students who have had stronger educational fundamentals, because in schools with stronger educational fundamentals, more well-resourced schools, the kids will have been taught to always do their work, always show their work. Whereas in under-resourced schools, maybe that isn't such a priority because they're just trying to make sure that the kids are keeping up with the math standards or whatever. So I am always seeing ways that the opportunity gap will widen whenever we especially do something that privileges folks who have technology over those who don't have technology, because the opportunity gap is all about the opportunity gap and the tech gap are sort of becoming synonymous, certainly during the pandemic. If you have access to high quality tech and fast, reliable internet, you're just in a different sort of league in terms of what you're able to achieve than somebody who has unreliable internet, a computer that freezes all the time, a computer that can barely run Zoom or like other programs, all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of questions about sort of equity when it comes to an online version of the SAT. And I think I would say I have more questions than answers right now.